All right, let's get started. Today, we're going to be hacking the original Super Mario Brothers game on the Nintendo Entertainment System. In order to do this, we're going to need to find a NES emulator and then also a copy of the original Super Mario Brothers read-only image. My favorite NES emulator is the FCEUX emulator. You can get that at fceux.com, and on a Windows machine, you can just click here to get a copy of the Windows binary for that emulator. Otherwise, you can download the source and build it from source to run it on a different platform. And to find the read-only image for Mario, you can go to your favorite search engine, just type in Mario NES ROM. It might take you about 15 links to find a working place to where you actually can download a copy of the ROM. At the time of this recording, emuparadise.me is a working website where you can go, type in Super Mario Brothers, find it, scroll down, click on the link, and get a copy of it. And I'm not a lawyer, and this isn't legal advice, but to the best of my knowledge, as far as the US is concerned, there is a notion of fair use, and if you are downloading software for educational purposes and you only keep a copy of it for 24 hours, then I believe that there's should be no legal issue. So let's go ahead and jump into the emulator itself. After you download the emulator, when you extract it, these are the files and folders that you're going to have. Clicking on it for the first time and opening it, you'll notice that it's probably going to be a very tiny window. We can configure that by going to Configure, Video, and changing the size multiplier. For my screen, a factor of 3 looks particularly good. And then I also like to configure my input. I don't like all of the default settings. For instance, I like select to be tab. I like start to be enter. Okay, it was enter, that's good. I like B to be X. And I like A to be Z. Okay, so let's make sure that's correct. Good, got it. After you have your emulator configured, you can find your ROM, extract it, drag it in, and press start, and we're ready to go. So for those of you that haven't played Mario before, it is one of the most popular side-scroller games, and in this particular game, what we're doing today is we're going to look at different attributes of the game that we can find and hack. One of the neat things about this emulator is that it has this cheats option, and the cheats option doesn't come with already preloaded cheats for any given game. For this discussion, for what we're doing, that wouldn't be fun. What's fun is to actually go out and find the cheats yourself, and that's what this tool does. And so what it allows you to do is to click reset, and what that's going to do, when we clicked it, you'll notice that we got 2048 possibilities, and what this represents is the entire memory state of the whole game of Mario. So Mario's score, Mario's coins, the level Mario's on, the time Mario has, how big Mario is, how fast Mario's going, where he's at on the screen, where the opponents are on the screen. The entire universe of Mario is captured by the memory state. And so whenever we click on reset, this first column is going to take a snapshot of the memory, and then the second column is going to represent the actual current values of that given variable. You'll notice that even when we pause the game, there's some variables that are changing. This one's, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see that because it's changing so fast, but the variable 000 seems to be changing maybe like 20 or 30 times a second. So in any case, the first thing that would be nice that for us to not have to worry about in a game like this, especially since we're going to be talking, is the time. The time right now is 397 seconds. I froze it. I can click reset, take another snapshot, and if I click equals, you notice that I got rid of some weird dummy variables there that were just changing even though the game was paused. If we unpause the game, let the time change, pause it again, then we should see that the variable that represents, or variables for that matter, could be more than one, the variables that represents time would have changed. And so what I'm looking for then is for all the variables that are different. Now if I click back in and press enter again and pause it, then there should be another change. So what this is doing is it's helping us isolate the variable that represents time. Let's do this a few more times. Not equals. All right. And now we can already see, okay, this variable is 8. We see an 8 over here. Let's just unpause it and watch it. Okay, well, these guys are going crazy. But this one, this actually does seem to be going with the time. And so what we can do is create a time variable, call it set the address to it 07FA, and just freeze that value in time. I'm going to freeze it to 1 and add it. And notice time is frozen. Okay, great. So we're going to keep going on. Another kind of cool thing about Mario is that Mario can become big. There's a notion of firepower. There's star power. So there's different kinds of fun things that we're going to be able to hack with Mario. Let's go ahead and reset. We're going to start over. The next variable that I'm wanting to isolate is the variable that controls whether or not Mario is big. So, you know, it'd be nice if we could, you know, just plow through enemies that Mario has and keep Mario big without him getting small again. And so what I've done is I just reset the memory state of Mario being small. And if we were to move around, what if there is a variable that controls whether or not Mario is big? It hasn't changed. And so what I'm interested in doing is clicking equal, and we've gotten rid of all the stuff that's changing in the background that can't possibly control whether or not Mario's big. Okay, now let's come back. I'm going to click equals one more time. I'm going to jump up, and now I'm going to let Mario become big. And I want as little to change as possible. So I'm not going to move back and forth. In theory, the only thing that's changed, the time hasn't changed. The only thing that should have changed is whether or not Mario's big. So now if we go over here, click not equals, we're down to 162. Okay, so right now there's 162 possibilities of different things that can control whether or not Mario's big. Now if we walk over here and click back in, the last time we clicked on something, Mario was big. Mario's still big. So if we click equals, now we're down to 113 possibilities. So let's intentionally make Mario small. So let's plow through a Goomba. Mario's small again. Clicking back. Now we expect that variable that controls bigness to be not equals, down to 64. Moving right along. Let's see if we can isolate it further just by playing through the game. Okay, the last time we clicked on anything, Mario was small. Mario is still small. We're going to click on equals. We'll make Mario big. Not equals. Okay. We'll keep going a little bit further. And get out of the way. Not equals one more time. Down to 27. Equals. Okay, now we're down to 13 possibilities. Let's go ahead and reset the game. We'll just start over. No big deal. Alright, so we have our time locked, and let's just see what happens to these variables whenever Mario becomes big. So I'm going to jump up. Bam. Okay, so we did see a change in some of these different variables here. Like for instance, this went from 0 to 1, this went from 1 to 0. Okay, this changed, this changed. What we could do is actually add all 13 of these things in and just test them one by one to see if that controls whether or not Mario is big. But most likely, and it is possible that, you know, something crazy like this, 4F or 4B, could control that. But bigness is like an off or on kind of thing. It's a yes or no kind of thing. And so probably values like 0, 1, maybe 2, those are most likely going to be the kind of variables that's going to represent an on-off kind of state, such as Mario being big or Mario being small. So let's look at these. 0, 4, 9, 9. Right now Mario is big. If we were to put in 0, 0 for that, add it. Oh, don't click that one. Okay, and then we can put in 0, 7, 5, 4. And right now that value is 0. Let's add that. And then we can put in 0, 7, 5, 6. Put in a value for 1, add that. And right now I'm going to disable these, reset the game, and then we'll just test one at a time and see if these variables controls Mario's bigness. So does this make Mario big? No. Does this make Mario big? Yes. Okay, so we just found the variable that controls whether or not Mario's big. And let's plow through a Goomba and see what happens. Whoa! Okay, so normally when Mario is big, he doesn't get hurt. Now, it's possible that the behavior of bigness is controlled by more than one of these variables. So let's turn this one off. Okay, Mario is small now. What happens if we do this one? Or this one, for that matter? If we run through the Goomba... okay. So somehow in the background, one of these two variables is representing Mario actually being big from the game logic point of view. This variable is just controlling whether or not we see Mario as big. Okay. So that's kind of interesting. Let's reset these. Let's reset the game one more time. Okay, let's see. Does this variable allow us to plow through a Goomba? No. Alright, so this variable isn't really doing anything for us, as best as we can tell at this point in time. But if we enable these two variables instead, now we can plow through Goombas just fine. Okay, cool. So let's reset the game. Another kind of interesting thing about Mario is that if you're already big, instead of getting mushrooms, you should be able to get firepower. Alright, so I'm going to press I, and I allows us to save the state of the game. So whenever we do a save state, if we want to come back, we can press P, and it takes us back to that point. And it just makes debugging the game a lot faster, so we don't have to keep resetting it. So I'm going to jump up, try to get firepower, and oh, I didn't get firepower. Now, normally we would get firepower. The only thing different about this Mario game and what we're doing right now is we've locked three variables. We've locked time, and we've locked these two other variables. So it's possible, it's actually probable, that somehow firepower is involved in one of these variables. Now we just saw that this variable controls whether or not we see Mario as big. But this variable controls whether or not Mario is actually big. Okay, so that's kind of a hint. So let's press P. We're not locking the bigness variable. We jump in. Oh, interesting. Alright, let's unlock that one. Press P. Oh, come back. P. So Mario is small. Okay. So I guess from the game's point of view, what would actually happen... Alright. So now, I guess from the game's point of view, Mario is legitimately big. Let's find one more flower. Alright, so here's where you would actually normally get flower power. So I'm going to unlock these variables, both of them. Mario's legitimately big. We don't have to cheat for this. And let's just watch what happens to these variables when Mario legitimately gets firepower. You'll notice that the 0, 7, 5, 6 becomes a 2. So instead of locking the value as 1, let's lock it to a 2. Update this and see what happens. Oh, we're not actually locking it. Let's see. Oh, just in the nick of time. Okay, so yeah, we updated the variables, and now we are freezing them again. And when we freeze the variables, it locks their values in memory. And now Mario permanently has firepower. But Mario is not immune to death yet. Mario can still die. Let's press P again, come back. It is true that if we plow through Goombas, they can hurt us, but you'll notice that they kind of still are, make us pause. And that's no fun. We don't want to have to pause. So one of the things that is in the game is the notion of a star. So I'm going to save right here, come up, and get the star. So one cool question would be, is it possible to lock Mario in star power mode? Okay, so that's the question. And you'll notice what happens. So we got star power, and then after a certain amount of time, so time passed, and then Mario stopped having star power. And so what that suggests is that somehow time is an influence on Mario having star power. And these old games were pretty primitive. Usually time is represented in an old game through a counter. And so if we're wanting to permanently freeze Mario into a point to where he has star power, what we need to do is find a time counter in memory that represents how much time he has left before his star power runs out. So let's press P. Okay. If he doesn't have star power, so this is kind of like a trick that we're going to do. Let's make a guess. So we have a lot of variables to work with right now, but if he doesn't have star power, a reasonable guess is that that time counter, the value for it right now is 0. So we just now look for something that has a value of 0, and now we don't know what the time counter is, but it should be not equal. Now times have passed, not equal. Now time has passed, not equal. And let's see, see? Notice that 079F looked like something that was going down in time. So what would happen if we were to take 079F and let's just make it 20, for instance. Ah, there he is. So now Mario has star power. But Mario's still not invincible. Okay, so how can Mario die? Well, Mario can fall off. So if Mario falls down, even if he has star power, he's still going to be able to lose a life. We don't want that to happen. So let's save it a state here. And let's jump off. Okay, right now we see 2. So Mario should have 2 lives left. And the most intuitive thing to do would be to look for a value in memory right now that is 2. So known value 2. And then let's fall off. Mario has 1 life left. But you'll notice that none of these variables are 1. So there has to be a value in memory that represents how many lives Mario has left, but they didn't make it so straightforward so that it would just be directly equal to it. So okay, let's back up. Let's press P again. So trying the known value search isn't always going to work. Sometimes it helps, sometimes it doesn't. What we can do though is if we reset it at this point, Mario has a certain number of lives. Another thing we can try is we can say that whatever variable in memory is representing Mario's lives, the next most reasonable guess is that that variable decreased by 1. So there should be some counter in memory that represents his lives, let's say less than by 1. Okay, so now we're down to 26 things. And we just took his life down by 1 again, so let's try that. Oh, now we're down to 1 thing. So let's see this. Let's do 0, 7, 5a. Let's lock the value as a, let's put it as 3 and just see what happens. Let Mario fall off. Where is he at? Huh, there you go. So now Mario is effectively immortal. But we've hacked Mario in one sense. But in the purest sense, hacking is when you get something to behave differently than the way it was originally intended to. And we haven't quite gotten to that point yet. And so what I want to do is I'm going to close this one. And I'm going to open one that is already open. Oh, well, that was already open. Here, let's go to FCEUX, run this, drag in the ROM. I'm going to press P. Now, at this point, I've saved it to where I have all the cheats that we already entered, and I gave them names. Okay, so that's the only difference. And we're right at the level that's right before Mario first learns how to swim. And so the next thing that I want to do is see if we can make it to where Mario can just always swim. Can Mario fly? So we're basically freeing Mario's mind, making him like Neo. Okay, so let's open up our cheats, reset the memory state. At this point, if there is some variable that represents Mario's ability to swim, right now Mario can't swim. So that's what we're looking for. At this point, Mario still can't swim, so let's just do an equals just to eliminate some silly stuff. We're going in. Time's running out, very good. Okay, Mario's walking. Walk, 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 walk. Alright, now Mario, in theory, can swim. So if there's some variable that represents his ability to swim, then it is changed. It's not equals. Let's come back. Now, there's all kinds of variables that are changing throughout this level right now. Where these enemies are, all kinds of things. But while we're in this level, the variable that's representing whether or not he can swim isn't changing. So we can just keep moving around and then periodically say equals and just continuously eliminate possible variables. Okay, equals, down to 167. And at this point, Mario can't swim anymore, and so now it should be not equals. Down to 90. And then click back. Click equals. Down to 86. Now at this point we can just start brute forcing. And that's basically what I did. And actually I applied another little heuristic or trick. Notice all of the variables that we ever cared about. All the variables that we cared about were around the address of 0, 7. So while there's 86 variables that potentially could control Mario swimming, if there's an interesting variable, then probably it's either 0, 7, 0, 4, 0, 7, 1, 0, or one of these other ones down here. So just look at those values, see what they are. I'm going to start over, I'm going to press P. So now we're going back into the swim level, and just keep an eye on these variables. Okay? Just a little bit more time here. Mario's coming in, looking down. Now you can see. So really we have about 5 or 6 different variables to try. The variable that it ends up being is 0, 7, 0, 4. And when Mario can swim, that variable 0, 7, 0, 4 is 1, as you can see. So we put that in, let's call it swim. Do an add, and let's just reset the game and see what it's like for Mario to be able to swim. And there you have it. That's the essence of hacking. Getting things to work the way they weren't meant to. Okay, so you can do this with pretty much any Nintendo Entertainment System game, or really any emulator that allows you to go in and look at memory states. You can hack around. It's a fun thing to do, and it's really a great thing to get you into the mindset of debugging, which is one of the cornerstones of programming. So thank you very much for watching.